Hello. How are you feeling today? How are you doing? I hope you're doing more than well, fine, and good. I'm feeling so happy and blessed. I'm so thankful for this time right now God has given me. Life. It is so beautiful. All we have to do is just look for it. So let's recap the last video real quick. I just want to say, don't let that negative, bad wolf fool you. You may be consumed in grief right now, but there's another part inside of you who wants to be happy again, help you heal, and give you the life you desire. Allow that good wolf inside of you to fight, and you will feel the love, happiness, and gratitude in your life again. Let it bring you peace, and let it bring you glory. Today might even be the day. So are you ready to discover another truth? To open this video, I want to talk about expectation and perception. So first, what is an expectation? According to Google, when used as a noun, it is defined in two ways. The first is, expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. The second definition they give us is, expectation is a belief that someone will or should achieve something. So let me ask, how many times in your life have you expected something to happen? Do you have any expectations in your life right now? If so, what are they? Do you expect certain things from others? Or has there ever been a time where you thought to yourself, I should have done this, or they should have done that? We do it every day, whether we like to admit it or not. We expect to get things done the way we want it. We expect to arrive to work on time without any problems. We expect others to respect our spaces. And for goodness sakes, we even expect the weather to be how we want it to be, or to be a certain way so it doesn't mess up our plans. And we can't forget about our expectations in our relationships. Sometimes we expect our significant other to know what we're thinking or to know what we exactly want. Have you ever done that? Expectations, especially untold ones, can make relationships messy, complicated, tricky, and terrible if we aren't careful. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many times I've walked around in a crummy mood, just looking at everyone, expecting them to know exactly how I was feeling or what I was thinking. Turns out they didn't. Even the chicken doesn't know what I'm thinking. Sometimes I wish I could carry this little guy around with me everywhere so I could remind myself, Shelby, if you don't tell people how you feel or what you're thinking, they'll never know. See, my point exactly. I can remember being so trapped in my own grief bubble, just terrified. Yet I was so angry at everyone. I expected so much. The expectations I had for myself, for others, and life were very extreme and unrealistic. I don't even think any mortal human being could have attained or sustained them for that matter. My expectations were making me live a false illusion. So for right now, let's take the time to really think about this. Let's think about our expectations. Can you think of an area of your life where you are expecting something out of yourself or expecting something from others that might be a bit unrealistic? Do they even know you expect it from them? Is it, or are your expectations realistic and attainable? Or are they limiting, disempowering, or even hurting you? Are they hurting others? This is all just something to think about. It's your perception which ultimately answers these questions. Did I just say perception? What is perception? I asked Google again, and Google said perception is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something. It's a mental impression. So, wouldn't you agree? And stop me if I'm wrong. But wouldn't you agree the quality of our lives is directly related to our perceptions of it? If I perceive something as good, then it will be good. But if I perceive it as bad, then it must be bad, right? Right. If I think my life is terrible, don't you think it will be terrible? Henry Ford, he said it best. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Life is all about perception. If you think you can't heal, you won't heal. It really is that simple. And besides, why waste our precious thoughts, time, and emotions on negative things? Why should we let the bad and negative wolf win? Life is too short to be lived in continuous suffering. The chicken even thinks so too. So I have to ask, where do we get our perceptions? How do we develop our beliefs? And how do we, as humans, decide if something is ultimately right or wrong? To answer these questions, I thought, what a better way than to do this? I'd like to introduce to you a process that was introduced to me by a magnificent soul. He happens to go by Tony Robbins, if you know him. I can remember being in the audience at one of his events, just feeling so blessed and in awe as he presented this content to us. He did it with so much love and passion. I'll never forget it. And after he was done explaining it, and just before we were about to go on break, he looked out into the audience and compassionately said, it was his hope when we all got back home, we'd share this with our friends, family, and loved ones. And that is exactly what I'm about to do with you. So thank you, Tony, for all your love, energy, wisdom, and desire to make this world a better place. Thank you for allowing me to spread this message. The secret to living is giving. So let's begin. Let me share with you now this amazing process and answer the questions I asked moments ago about perceptions, beliefs, and how we decide if something is right or wrong. What do you think of that? Does it sound good? So let's talk about the first part of the process. We must first discover our modes. M-O-W, or model of the world. We must first discover your model of the world. You're probably wondering, what the heck is a model of the world? Mo, it's just a term to basically describe how you see reality and how you see the world. We all have one, and we live our lives based on these models. our mo's are formed and influenced by a couple of different things. The first part, or some of the parts of our mo's, may be inherited or learned from our parents, family, friends, community, or environment. And the second part, they're developed based on our own personal experiences in life and what we chose to think, feel, and do in those particular situations. We created our models inside, subconsciously and consciously, and we continue to use them, expand them, and redefine them throughout the course of our lives. So now that you know what mo's are, models of the world, what do you think makes up our model of the world? Any ideas? Well, I'll tell you. There are 3 different and major parts to them. They are our beliefs, our values, and our rules. I'll explain each part in more detail as we continue, and I will try to do my absolute best to be clear as possible. You're doing great. So let's talk about the first part, our beliefs. We all have beliefs about something. Beliefs about family, health, education, politics, religion, you name it. We have beliefs about everything. Some people believe homeschooling is best, while others believe public school is the way to go. Some believe in a God, while others believe there is no God. Some believe the best diet is vegan, while others believe paleo is best. How many times have you had a conversation with someone trying to convince them that your way was right? It's human nature. We have beliefs about what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. We even have beliefs about how life should and how life shouldn't be. 2 people may be looking at the same exact thing, but because of their models of the world, they see 2 completely different things. To put this into simpler terms, our values, our rules, and our beliefs are what basically make up our personalities, our identities, our lives, and our realities. They are what we use to describe the world we experience, and they are the things we use to express ourselves. If our models of the world are being met, then we are happy. But if life is not matching our mo's, then we're not going to be happy. It really is that simple. So let's move on and go into the second part of what makes up our models of the world, or mo's. So within our beliefs are these things called values. We all value something to a lesser or higher degree in life. And we value multiple things in our lives. And on top of that, if we value multiple things in our lives, we prioritize them from most important to least important. However, many people do not know that there are actually 2 different types of values. We have good values and we have bad values. We have values that we try to obtain and feel in life, and then we have values that we try to avoid feeling in our lives. When life is happening the way we like it, that is when we're most content. This may sound a bit confusing right now, but don't worry. Take a deep breath. I promise it will make much more sense as we keep going. This is the first time maybe you've ever heard this. You're doing awesome. Just continue to remain open and listen. You so have this. If I figured this stuff out, so can you. Anyone can figure this out. So, to help you better understand let me ask you a couple of different questions. And if you want, you're more than welcome to pause this video after each question and write down your answers. Get ready, because you're about to learn more about your model of the world. So, here is the first question. What do you value most in life? What is a priority in your life? Do you have multiple things? Or what is a driving force or main focus in your life? What do you live your life for? What are some emotions you try to feel on a daily basis? Is it love, happiness, success, feeling healthy, busy, connected with God, safe, peaceful? What do you like to feel? These kinds of values are the feel-good ones. They are the good values. They are what light us up. When we consider our life great, that is when we are feeling and meeting these types of values in our lives. We all have certain feelings we would prefer to experience. For example, some people may value feeling love, while others value feeling happiness more. Our models of the world are some of the biggest reasons as to why we are different in this way. What we have just discussed and thought about is the first type of value in our life, which is the good values. Now it's time to switch to the other side and talk about the second type, which is the bad values. So when I say bad values, I just mean feelings we would rather not experience. To help you to discover yours, let me ask you some questions like I just did a bit ago. And remember, you can pause this if you want and write down your answers. So here's the first question. What kind of feeling would you do almost anything to avoid feeling in your life? What kind of feeling would you do almost anything to avoid feeling in your life? What do you not like to feel? What do you not like to feel the most? When blank happens is when I feel the absolute worst. Feelings like rejection, failure, sadness, fear, anxiety, worry, boredom, stress are just a few examples. So what do you hate feeling? And let me remind you again, you have nothing to fear, and please don't be ashamed. We all have these emotions inside of us, and we can experience them at any time. We all have emotions we don't want to feel, and emotions we really want to feel. We are human, and that's perfectly okay. There's a yin-yang to everything. This world is a balance of good and evil forces, hot and cold, black and white. What makes the difference in this life is ultimately what we choose to feel, think, see, and be. You're doing an amazing job. You're doing spectacular. Let's keep going. So, moving on, let's take it one step further and talk about the third part of our models of the world. From our two different kinds of values, the good values and the bad values, you will notice we have these things called rules attached to them. R-U-L-E-S. Rules. These rules are ultimately what we have inherited or created that decide if our values, both the good and the bad ones, are being met or not. Put simply, they are the determining factors or the reasons as to why we feel particular emotions when we do. Subconsciously, over our lifetime, ever since we were born, we have inherited or created rules that decide when we do or don't meet our values. We have rules that determine when we should or shouldn't feel emotions. Did you know that the top two things people fear the most in life is not being good enough or not being loved? If you take a second to really think about this, when we feel these kinds of emotions, I believe at one point in our lives, we have all had a moment or many moments when we have not felt good enough or not loved. I know I have. And guess what? We feel this way sometimes in life because our rules, because of our rules, we feel not good enough or not loved because our rules to our values are not being met or our rules are being broken. Most of our problems in life are because we or others are either not meeting our rules or we or someone else is breaking them. These kinds of feelings stem from conflicting rules or conflicting values. What is happening in our lives is not meeting our values and rules. It's not meeting our model of the world. And when I say this, I mean, we might have all the rules to feel bad, but so few to feel good. Or our rules to feel good are so hard to meet, we barely can achieve them in our life. And we might achieve them, but it's not sustainable. We make it easier to feel bad about ourselves than we do to feel good. We subconsciously set ourselves up for a life of failing, never feeling good enough, and a lifetime of chasing the dog's tail. And on top of that, some of us, well, the majority of us, actually have rules to feel or not feel a certain way that are not even in our control. To meet our values, both the good and the bad ones, we innocently create rules that put the world and others in control of how we feel. For example, someone might say, in order for me to feel happy, I need to get 500 likes on my Instagram post. Or, for me to feel rejected and unloved, only one person has to post a mean comment about me on my post I just posted. Another example could be, in order for me to feel loved, everybody has to like me. Or, for me to feel like a failure, my boss just has to look at me the wrong way. Or, here's an example of where someone is actually making it hard or nearly impossible to feel good and all the reasons to feel bad. In order for me to feel happy, everything in my life must be going the way I want it, and nothing bad can ever happen. Rules like these can make life hard and frustrating. What if a rule to be happy was, all I have to be is be alive to be happy? How easy then do you think it would be for that person to feel happy? Don't you think we might even have beliefs, values, and rules when it comes to death, loss of a loved one, and our own grief? I don't know about you, but I get sick of feeling bad. Why not make it easy to feel good now that you're conscious of it? Why not make it easy? Why not set your life up so you can succeed and thrive? Why not set your life up so you're the only one that can make you feel a certain way? Why not make life easy? Why not? This brings me to the question, why? Now that we're talking about it, why is it that some of us have so many ways to feel bad and be in a suffering state than we do to feel good? Why is it so hard to be in a beautiful state sometimes? Why is it so hard for us sometimes? Do you have more ways to feel bad in your life rather than to feel good? If you do, that's okay, because thankfully, I have good news for you. Today, you have the opportunity to change that. To end today's video, I would like to do a little exercise with you, using a pen and paper or computer if you prefer. I'd like you to become aware of your current values and rules. It's a chance to get to know yourself a little more and find understanding as to why you do what you do and feel the way you do during certain times in your life. It's a time to bring what is unconscious to the conscious, and it's a time to see what is helping you and what is hurting you. It's also a time where you can see what you like to experience in life and what you don't like to experience. It's even a time to realize how you developed certain rules to feel certain emotions. So, if you want to expose some of your model of the world, let me explain what you have to do next. I did it, so if I did it, you can do it too. You're doing good. You're doing great. Keep it up. So first, what I want you to do is discover your feel-good values. To do this, you need to ask yourself, what is most important to me in life? What do I value most? What is my life about? What do I value? And before you begin, I just want to point something out. If you, for example, put family down for your priority, I want you to ask yourself, what is behind family? Why do you prioritize family? What feeling does family give you? For example, at a deeper level, is it love that you're after and value? Is it love that you get from your family? All values during this exercise should be described as emotions. If you write down a thing, try to find the bigger meaning, the deeper emotion behind it as to why you value it. Just keep writing answers down until you can't think of any more, or you're content with your list. 10 emotions would be plenty. But if you have less, or if you have more, that's great. Just do you. Then, what I'd like you to do is to prioritize them from most important to least important to feel in your life. When you're done with that, the last thing I would like you to do is to find out the rules to meet each of these values. To do this, you'll need to ask yourself, what has to happen for me to feel blank? What has to happen? What do I have to experience to feel blank. This is where you discover your rules that meet your values. Have 1 rule or 10 rules. Just be honest with yourself and really think about what has to happen. For example, if I asked myself, what has to happen for me to feel love? I would say, for me to feel love, I can hug someone, pray for others, or do something kind. Then I might ask myself, what else has to happen, Shelby, for you to experience love? Then I might say, when I show myself love, work out, or when I'm coaching basketball. I hope you can see by my example where I'm going with this. When and if you start to feel yourself getting frustrated, overwhelmed, or tense while doing this, take a break and just continue later. This is not by all means meant to upset you. This is meant to be fun, not life or death. So enjoy it and don't expect perfection. You can do it. You're doing awesome. Just enjoy the journey of getting to know yourself. So, the next part. When you're done discovering your good values and rules, it's time now to move on to the bad values. These again are the values you would do almost anything to avoid feeling. To do this, you need to ask yourself, what is a feeling I would do almost anything to avoid having to feel? What is a feeling I would do almost anything to avoid having to feel? Just keep writing down answers like you did in the first part. And then, after that, what I want you to do is the same thing and prioritize them from most important to least important to avoid feeling. When this is complete, it's time now to discover their rules. To do this, you need to ask yourself, what has to happen for me to feel blank? What has to happen? What do I have to experience to feel blank? Here's another example for you. So if I were to ask myself, what has to happen for me to feel sad? I would say, anytime I see another person or animal suffering, watch a heartfelt movie, or anytime I see my husband in pain. I'm sure I have many more rules. I do actually, but these are just a couple to help you get on your own way when you're writing your own rules. And when we're writing our rules, it's best to start with the words, anytime I. Anytime I. So I hope I explained it well, because that's it. You got this, my friend. Below this video, I just want to let you know I have the steps and questions that I just explained written out for you to guide you through this entire process. If it were easy, everybody would do it. Do this from a beautiful state and life will never be the same again. This is the time to discover your model of the world. Find the values and rules that aren't serving you and then modify them. Life has changed. You've grown. Things that have happened in the past are done and over now. This is the present. This is you. You are magnificent. See you in video 7.